Hey there, friends, and welcome into a Water Break Wednesday presented by Crown Royal. We're taking your questions. We want to hear from you. We also want to know from where you're sending those questions, whether it's Spring Branch, Spring Hill, Mongolia. Send it our way. I'm Drew Dougherty. That's my good friend, John Harris. What's so funny, John Harris? What are you laughing about?
Well, it's funny because I had a lot of different cities in my head. I was going like Laredo, Monterey, maybe Mexico City, Ciudad de Mexico. I was thinking any of those, and then you drop Mongolia.
It's a country, Outer Mongolia, maybe Ulaanbaatar, the capital of Outer Mongolia. But anyways, we want to hear from you. We want to know what your questions are. We were going to do one of these about this time last week, but there was some uncertainty in the air. So we decided to punt, wait, and do it when we knew a little bit more about what was going on. And Texans, John, have a whole bushel full of draft picks this year, next year, and the year after. They make the deal with Cleveland. They now have 3 1s, 2 4s, and a 3 coming back their way. That 1 and that 4 come this year. So they have 2 1s, a 2, 2 3s, 2 4s, and 3 6s and a 7. They've got a lot of picks, John. And that's a lot of ammo at 3 and 13 overall to get this team better. When you saw the final terms of the deal, which we found out came on Monday, not Friday, but the final terms of that deal, what was your first instantaneous impression of it all?
Like, ooh, we're at the top of the 4th round again. I mean, that was my thought. Like, they got 6 draft picks. I know people will be like 108. Like, I only care about like 3 and 13, and so you hear all these crazy theories. I mean, people are like, oh, I want this guy at 3 and this guy at 13. First of all, if you're a betting man, I shouldn't even advocate for that. But if you are, 3 and 13 are probably not the spots where the Texans are going to draft. Who's to say? But I don't know that they're going to draft at 3 and 13. I just think with these picks, Nick's going to move around. You know me, you know how I am with the draft. Just the more draft picks, the better. More guys that I've watched, that I've studied, that I've liked, that end up in this building. And having, Mark and I talked about this on All Access on Monday night, having 107 and 108, the 2nd and 3rd picks of the 4th round, just after Jacksonville as it sits right now, you get an opportunity Friday night after day 3 or day 2's over. Friday night's over. Round 3's over. You sit and you look at your board again. You reassess like, okay, this guy went here. This guy, what could Jacksonville potentially do? We're sitting with the next couple of picks. We're on deck and in the hole at the same time. We're both 2 and 3 here. So what do? But you got all night to kind of reassess, see where your board is, see how things have fallen. And then Nick has always talked about supply and demand. Well, you got to figure out what the supply is at the end of Friday night. And then you're the one demanding and looking at it going, hey, man, there are 8 corners on this board that we like. Just using that as an example. Mm-hmm. Maybe one of these we can trade down, get other picks, or prioritize something else that there's not as much supply and go grab it at 107. And then we need a corner at 108. Let's trade down a little bit. We can get one of these 8 corners a little bit later and get some more draft capital. So there's a lot to kind of play with. But again, you know me, as soon as they added another draft pick we didn't know about over the weekend, it just made that deal, that much sweeter to me from that standpoint. 6 draft picks, 1 in the 4 this year, 1 in the 3 next year, 1 in the 4 the following year. I like it.
Okay, you just brought up cornerbacks, and so we're going to get to Joshua's question in just a second. But just to prove that Texans fans are like pit bull, they're just worldwide and all over the place, check out where some of these folks are coming in from or chiming in from today. We've got Christian and Katie, and people are like, that's not worldwide, Drew. Okay, we'll just chill. Just Beige is in New Zealand, so we got a Kiwi with us. Oh. Thank you, Just Beige. Yeah. Matt is in San Diego, and we're having a San Diego-like weather day here in Houston. But
we are.
Thank you, Matt, for checking us out. Juan down in Brownsville. And Omgiata in Baltimore. I was actually born in Baltimore in 1977, and we moved to Houston when I was a 10-week-old baby. So I'm a Texan. I'm a Houstonian, but I've got family back there, and I love going back to the Charm City. But I mentioned corners, John. Joshua wants to know this. Do you think LSU cornerback Derek Stingley could fall to number 13? Stingley, of course, has been a really good player for the last – well, he's always been a good player, but especially 2 years ago when they won that national title, or 3 years ago when they won that national title. And he's somebody that's some places have him as the best corner in this draft. Others have him competing with Sauce Gardner's and some others. But where do you think, or what do you think about Stingley dropping down to 13?
I think it's an absolute possibility. Now, he's the biggest enigma in this draft. You mentioned 2019. That was his true freshman season. And in his true freshman season, with all the players on that team, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, the offensive line was tremendous. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Queen at linebacker. They had dudes. Derek Stingley was one of those dudes. I mean, he was one of the top 3 players on that team. But in 2020, it was a COVID year, he didn't play a lot. 2021, he was hurt, I think, in week 3, he didn't play a lot. Injuries have slowed him down. We haven't heard much from him. He didn't work out at the combine because he's still coming back and rehabbing from the injury he suffered in 2021. So to go back and look at his great tape, you got to go back to his true freshman year. And then you think, man, if I project forward, well, that's tricky because the last 2 years he was injured. So he's an enigma. Now, he's going to have his workout, I believe, April 5th, April 6th, somewhere in that range. And that's really going to be the first time, for the most part, that anybody is really laying eyes on Derek Stingley. Now, as a true freshman, I would have taken him yesterday. I would have absolutely grabbed onto him. So from that standpoint, I would be all about it. But I just don't know what we're going to find when he starts working out. He's an enigma. But at 13, I can absolutely, if he's there, let's go. Let's take him. Sauce Gardner's gotten a lot of love. I think everything about assets and traits, I could go with Derek Stingley, no doubt. In fact, I have Stingley going ahead because I'm forecasting that he's going to be that guy in the NFL. He's got Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Surtain type traits. And I think once he stays healthy, he is going to be a baller.
Those are pretty strong comparisons right there. We also have JB in Huntsville, Elizabeth in Marquez, Cecil in Houston. I wonder if that's Cecil Shorts the third, and Tabitha up in Livingston. I hope Tabitha's on the water doing something fun right about now. Stephen is chiming in with a question. We got another one. It's from another guy named Joshua. He says, do you think the Texans could take Kayvon Thibodeaux at number 3? I know you kind of are like me on this one. That would surprise me. I don't think the Texans would take him at 3rd overall. I think there's a few other prospects they like more. But back in January, GM Nick Caserio said, hey, whether we actually pick at number 3 is a whole separate discussion. So he has made it very, very clear from the outset. And he said it a few different times since then. The Texans are open for business as far as dealing back and acquiring more picks. And I don't think anything's changed in that regard with this trade to Cleveland. So Kayvon Thibodeaux at 3, I don't see it happening. I mean, it's possible, but I would be a little bit surprised if it did.
I'm with you. I said this last night on a podcast that I was on when I was asked about Kayvon Thibodeaux at 3. I think fit is a major part of this. Fit on the field, fit off the field. And I know the Texans, can use, they can use some sauce, a guy like Sauce Gardner. I mean, he's got a lot of juice. He's got a lot of, as they say, swag. So does Kayvon Thibodeaux. He does too. Now, Kayvon's a little bit more in your face with it. And I don't know if that kind of fits for what the Texans are all about. I don't know. Then it's on the field fit. Is he a 4-3 defensive end? Is that a guy that you want putting his hand in the dirt every single play? I think he can do it. I think he absolutely can do it. But I think long run, I think Kayvon might be best served kind of standing up, playing a 3-4 outside linebacker. But those kind of, up, down, they kind of merge, to be honest with you. So I don't think too much. I'm not ruling anything out. I think Kayvon's a whale football player. I really do. I think going back to the enigma question, kind of with Derek Stingley, Derek Stingley's was about, injuries and his body, not, with Kayvon, you wonder, wait a second, this dude just ran a 4.59 at the 40, told everybody he was going to kill it. He was going to be the guy at the combine. And then he put his warm-ups on and watched the rest of it. Like he told teams, he told the media, told everybody. He was doing everything, and he did the 40. So there's some of that thing that's just kind of frustrating about Kayvon Thibodeaux. Dude, baller? Yes. But just some of the other stuff that goes with it, it's a little bit so frustrating. Yeah.
All right, Paul and Sarah in Humble are checking in. So is Brandon in Indiana. Freddie out in West Texas. Where are you calling from? checking us out in West Texas. I used to live in Lubbock and know a little bit about New Deal and Idalou and Abernathy and also some other spots in between. Roberto and Port Arthur as well. Here's a question about a guy who's already on the team, not somebody the Texans might draft, but Sid wants to know. Sid is asking, what position will Titus Howard play? Ooh. And he can play anything. I mean, the guy played right tackle, played left guard. Those last two, left on the left side last year, he played them pretty well, especially at left tackle. I think he slides back to right tackle this year, though. And some of that depends on the draft. But even if the Texans take one of those great offensive linemen, I still kind of think Howard's your right tackle because Laramie Tunsil's coming back. But wherever he is, you're lucky that you're not lucky, but you're fortunate to have him on your roster because he's a dang good player. But if you had to press me on one, I'm thinking it's right tackle. What about you, John?
I think that's where he goes too. But, some of this has to do with, who they take at number 3. I mean, look, they may fall in love with Ike Ekwonu, and they might want
easy
to
love
play tackle. Yeah, I mean, he is an absolute football playing dude. But it's easy to love Titus Howard too. So yeah, I think the nice thing about Titus is he can play both. I know there were some struggles with guard last year. He didn't have his greatest year at guard. I think he's a tackle. I think right tackle is the right fit for him. I wouldn't mind having an Ekwonu or a Neal added to the mix and figure it out. Figure it out from that point. But it's 3 really good, athletic, strong offensive linemen, and you figure it out at that point. But I think Titus is a right tackle. And I think putting him and thinking about him at right tackle, Nick Caserio was on with our guys, Sean and Seth, in the morning, and I was listening to the interview on Tuesday. And he was asked about Titus Howard, and Nick was, I don't ever want to play poker against Nick. You never know. He could be looking at, a 3 and a 5, and you're thinking he's got 3 aces. Yeah. So he just said, we'll figure it out. We'll see where he goes. And I think that gets kind of – it's a little bit frustrating because you're like, man, this guy's a tackle, right? He's a tackle, right? But you want to make sure that you do the right thing for the offensive line. And look, maybe, with Pep Hamilton bringing in what he wants to do offensively, maybe Titus is a better fit at guard. Who's to say? But my guess would be right tackle.
Yeah, and you just brought up Pep Hamilton, and that is a very important factor in all of this because the offense will change the plan of attack as far as run blocking, pass protection. That will change, and I think it's going to change for the better than from what we've seen around here lately. So, yeah, that's a big component of where Titus and the rest of this group up front lands. Okay, we got Daniel on YouTube. This is an intriguing one because it definitely affects the Texans. I don't think they're going to go after Malik Willis, but he wants to know, will Willis's pro day increase the chances of teams wanting to trade up? It certainly didn't hurt, and neither did his combine performance. He's been very, very impressive. I know you think highly of him as well, but will other teams think that highly of him, and will they move up? And would they want to move up to 3 to take him? Or would they want, if he were to fall, move up to 13 to take him? I don't think he falls to 13, but how does Malik Willis affect what the Texans do in the draft, I think is the big question.
Well, there's so many layers to this. I don't think somebody would go all the way up to number 1. I don't think. But I would imagine Trent Baalke's going to listen. Number 2, Brad Holmes, the GM for the Lions, has already said, he said it at the Senior Bowl, hey, we're going to listen. Nick Caserio was asked about it. He's like, absolutely listening. So everybody in that top 3. And the thing is you got to figure out, all right, if you're a team that needs a quarterback and you're sitting outside the top 10, you're going, okay, who in that top 10 could take a quarterback? Carolina could at 6. Ultimately, the Giants could at 5. The Giants could at 7. The Atlanta Falcons could at 8. I mean, he's from Atlanta. They could kind of save that situation by bringing a homeboy right back that's, from that area. And the Atlanta homeboy and Malik Willis, they could really be champs, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. And I think a Malik Willis in Atlanta system would be really, really exciting. So you got to figure that and go, okay, I know 2 is going to listen. I know 3 is going to listen. I don't know about 4, 5. I don't know. Let me call Detroit and see what it's going to take. Let me call Houston. Boy, I think I've got the ammunition to go up to 3. Let's call Nick. Let's see if we can move down. And then you balance that with, all right, in return, what are we going to get? You move 3 spots. You move from 3. You got some pretty good haul coming back. I think the Willis noise activity, if you will, does nothing but help the Texans. Does nothing but help the Texans from the standpoint of teams that want to go get a quarterback, because there are plenty in that top 10 that are going to look at it and think, man, Carolina's going to grab him at 6. We got to get above them. What also helps you is Carolina, Atlanta, those two teams might think we got to get up there to make sure we can lock that guy in. And you've just spent the last week in some change talking with Carolina and Atlanta about a Deshaun Watson trade. So you've already had those discussions. So you get back on the phone. Hey, we had a good time with you over at, such and such's place the other day. Hey, let's talk about this. We want to move up to number 3. What would you be willing to do? You do make the trade. So I don't think the Texans will draft Malik Willis. But I do think Detroit and Houston, absolutely without question, at 2 and 3 are going to listen. They're no doubt going to listen. Yeah. And I think Malik Willis is going to be in play. And the question was a good one. Was it Daniel, I think, who had the question on YouTube?
Daniel on YouTube, yes.
Here's where you got to be careful, though. The pro day was great. Jamarcus Russell had one heck of a pro day, too. Ryan Leaf had one tremendous pro day as well. And those guys turned out to be
Johnny Manziel had a great pro day.
With it. Oh, man, yes. Johnny Manziel had a great pro day, and President Bush's dog was defecating on the grass. Well, the fake grass inside, but that's a different story. So, yeah, pro day doesn't tell you everything. He was good at the Senior Bowl. I like seeing that. There are some inconsistencies in his game. Throwing the football, man, he will, and you've seen the movie Bull Durham, and you know what I mean when I say this. He'll hit the bull sometimes. But when he channels Nuke LaLoosh and the eyelids are going the right direction, and he's throwing seeds, man, he is tough. He is a really good football player from that standpoint. And I've seen him pull some magician acts too, getting out of messes like, how did he do that? So there's an excitement that goes with Malik Willis as well that the teams are going to, I think, covet in the top 5.
It's funny that you bring up Bull Durham because my kindergartner, Oliver, is on the Durham Bulls, and they've got their first baseball team today. So he's a Bull, and it's got that same logo and everything. He's pretty pumped. So, yes, go Bulls. And go Giants. My son's on the Giants. Other son's on the Giants. So there we go. All right, we've got time for one more question. Sticking with YouTube, it comes from Chris on YouTube, and this is a good one. He has this. Who is more likely to go first, Aiden Hutchinson, Evan Neal, or Kayvon Thibodeaux? And I got to go Hutchinson out of that crew. I think the pass rusher from Michigan out of those 3 would be the guy. And I think you also got to keep an eye out for Kyle Hamilton, though I would be kind of surprised if he went first overall. I know he's your favorite player in this draft as far as your top-ranked guy in the Harris 100. But out of that 3, Chris, I'd say Hutchinson. What would you say, John?
Yeah, I think Hutchinson with Neal a very close second. I know they're bringing back Cam Robinson, and they've got Juwan Taylor on the other side. Robinson's franchised. I don't know if they'll be able to bring him back. So in Miami in 2016, when Laremy Tunsil was drafted, everybody knew he was a left tackle, but they had Brandon Albert, and I can't remember who was the right tackle. So they took Laremy, put him at guard for a year. And look, Evan Neal played a whole year at guard and was very, very good. Well, if Cam Robinson plays like Cam Robinson has played, they're not going to bring him back. They slide Neal out, away you go. So I don't think Evan Neal is outside the realm of possibility. I think Thibodeaux is. And I think Hutchinson feels like the safer pick. You put him opposite Josh Allen, the pass rushing Josh Allen, away you go.
Mm-hmm. I like it. All right. Well, Michael in Florida checked us out today, and we appreciate that, Michael, and Roberto in Port Arthur. So thanks to all of you for watching today. John, thank you for joining me, and we also appreciate Amanda Caffey and Tyler Marcotte for making this all happen behind the scenes to the best of the best. Better than all the rest. We can't thank them enough. Have a good one. This has been a Water Break Wednesday presented by Crown Royal.